buddy. You look
Hey,
like
good
you're ready
morning.
to say hey.
Good.
I'm gonna switch it so that then it
Ooh,
looks like I'm looking at you.
oh, where are we? Where are we? Folks, ladies and gentlemen, I just saw Mount Fuji. She just tore it away like it was a rapper. I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't know you could do that to Mount Fuji. She just, yeah, pretty
We
incredible.
just swapped sides of the planet, right? Because you're in
Yes.
Australia, so we can imagine we swapped. Yeah, we did a good job.
Well, that's
We
right.
did,
Mount Fuji's east for me.
but this is the destiny of your soul, which means maybe we have the ability to do whatever it is we are called to do in this life.
With
Which,
your mind, I saw you rip
yeah,
away that
it,
Mount Fuji and
exactly,
that background like it
magic.
was nothing, and I'm like,
It
this
was
lady could do anything. Ladies and
so with
gentlemen,
me. I've got Kyle Spirides, author of Decide Your Destiny, custodian of the Decide Your Destiny movement, and I'm Angela Talent from Damaged Parents. Thanks for coming to the show.
thank you guys, and
Yeah.
good to see Angela giggling. She'll definitely be notoriously doing that. Do you have a giggly poem this week, or do you have what sort of poem do you have in store for us? You don't have to tell
No,
it
but I
now,
did. Today's chapter is about choices, and so I just
yes.
want to reiterate that I made that choice to move you, so it didn't look like I was looking that way, but it looked like I was looking closer to the, and I'm really pointing out choice because that's the title of your chapter. And I love the very first sentence that I've told you I'm going to quote you. Under no uncertain terms would I forfeit my personal choices and decisions, which I think goes with the poem of the day.
Hit it.
I need sound effects now. No, I'm just kidding. I don't need sound effects. Yeah, so literally, okay, so because we like to go on target with the chapter title, the poem is actually literally called Choice.
Love it.
Yeah, it's been a while. So since I read this one, so I'm gonna just read it and let's see how I do the first time through. And you always have me read it a second time. So if I botch it, we'll just get it on the second try. And if I botch it again,
learning.
Yeah, if I botch it again, then I'll just keep going,
Third
right?
try. Yep.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
yeah, keep going. Okay, so here we go. I used to give away my choices, letting you, society, family, my past choose for me. But when I remember that you, society, family, my past, are not me, I also remember I have a choice. I don't need to deny myself, my soul's beauty, opportunity, reality. So I settle into my heart and I listen to my soul and I follow that path.
I love it.
I did okay. Yeah.
You did.
Okay.
I recall this one. You might have mentioned to me, or maybe parts of it one time.
I'd sent it to you.
Now?
No, let's see, because we took that break because of the life got crazy for us, and so I had sent it to you before. I think before the break because I was trying to. We were trying. We had
I swear I've heard it earlier. Parts of that or pieces or
maybe,
parts.
maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I mean,
you know the go. Hit it again.
It was inspired by your chapter.
Yeah, I love that. No, but I swear I've heard you say something along those lines in a previous poem. Do you take pieces from one poem, put it into the next? Do you
Not
cross-pollinate?
No, but subconsciously, maybe, right? Like if I've been pondering something, for a while,
up on the mountain of Mount Fuji. Something could have some thought could have entered your mind.
It could have, as I was meditating.
Yes. Yep. What are those trees called? Are they jasmine trees? No.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a jasmine tree, but I don't know if that's also the same as like out here we have cherry blossom trees. So
Yeah. Cherry blossom could have hit you in the head and then sparked the idea of. By the way, personal joke behind the scenes is I've been making fun of Angela's background. I love it, but she's like, I've got to change my background because I'm making fun. But no, I don't want to do that. But it's just I love Mount Fuji.
I generally am good-hearted at playing with things. And actually, before I read the poem again, I think that's a choice too. Or many times that's a choice, right? So last weekend, just to give a real life example, I love to sing, so I'm in choir at church, and I had a vocal cord dysfunction last year or the year before it started, where the muscle that holds the hyoid would not relax, so it was creating problems. And I was having to clear my throat, which, just for those of you listening that do a lot of the, like that, don't do that. It's mean. It's mean to your vocal cords. You're supposed to go, ha, ha, ha.
Oh, okay.
Or ha, 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 like that, but don't
Give
really
it to us again. Ha, ha, ha.
You did it. Yeah, exactly.
I love my vocal cords.
I love mine too. But anyway, so I became what's the word? I lost some of my range. So I used to be able to sing alto through soprano, like no problem. And when my vocal cords went a little crazy, I lost a little bit of that range and I wasn't able to hit the high notes. So my mom is an opera singer, and because she recently moved, well, not recently, it's been probably 6 months now, moved in, I've been practicing, and she's like, wow, you really have that. You just need to open up and let it go. Right. Like, and so I'm insecure about it. And I'm only doing it at home for a long time. And then last weekend I go to church and I'm like, okay, mom says I got this. I can do this. And I'm still, remember that feeling of insecurity. And here's where I'm going to get into what it means with choice. So in that moment, like the director, and she generally gives me a hard time too, in a loving way. And generally I take it well. But this one comment was pointed to me that I was off, and in my ear my sister was off. I was hitting the note. Or so I thought. Okay, right? Like, I don't know. There's no recording. I had to work through this. Okay, guys. So I look at her and I turn.
Wait, can I jump in here?
Right? Go ahead. Go ahead.
The choice was to
it's coming up.
It dives deeper, and it's because you and your sister are identical twins, so you put her under the bus. And you said it was her screwing up the acapella.
I did not throw her under the bus at all. What I did do, though, well, maybe I did, now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe in some ways I did, right?
Oh, cool. Now I'm getting juicy.
Maybe I put all the other sopranos under the bus, but we'll see. Like, I would be interested for your opinion. So I'm in there and I look at the director and I'm like, okay, I am a grown ass woman. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I have kids. My kids are 18 and 20. But I look at this lady that I love deeply, and I'm like, oh, really? Because my mom is an opera singer. and she says that I've got this. I'm mad. Right?
You're mad because your mom set you up for failure.
But I had a choice and I didn't have to say a word. So I go down and I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and read my book whilst, we're waiting for sacrament to start and everything like that. And I'm like, man, I just didn't feel safe. And I'm like, all starting to get into validating my position, right? And blaming her. And I was like, because in that moment I had a choice, and the choice I took was to be like, well, to do what I did. But I recognized that, like, that was not, I didn't like what that did to me, and I didn't like what it did to the other person, right? Like the injury, not only to myself, but to all the people around me, like just really going into that place. But like you said, we fail, we make mistakes all the time, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? I need to apologize because I know what I did, which was my mom told me like
Oh.
and so I go and I apologize. She had no idea, like, no idea the pain, and because I was like, I'm really sorry. I was so hurt that I just responded, my mom, and she's like, no, it's okay. She apologized. And I it was really beautiful because I recognized the pain I caused her, or could have caused her, because she's like, I didn't even notice. Like, she didn't take any notice. And at the same time, she was able to say, wow, she was sorry for pushing that button. My recognition, though, was that it was me. It was in me that the problem, right? It was how I interpreted, how I, like, how dare I be told I'm off key? Like, wow, right? Oh, so what? So if I'm off key, so what? Somebody knew. And if it was me, great. I'll go to alto, right? But I took it, there was so much insecurity there that I took it personally.
Mm. Look, I think it's a very funny story, but I get the serious side of what you're saying. And makes me think of this quote. I don't know if it's a scripture or something along the lines of the real the the essence of life, like, is not necessarily to be liked or to be the most sweetest person or thing. It's to move towards the light of truth. And I think that's like an everyday personal struggle, um, and global, and in so many ripples in our life, whether it's ourself, our family. No, I did put the dishes away. Well, you didn't do it, or like our community, or you know, who's parking in my car spot. Blah, like it ripples out into the greater our effect on the planet. Um, and everybody's fallible. Um, they put people's faces on Time magazine, and you think these people are not fallible, and all that sort of stuff. But everybody has a dark side, a beast, not so positive or prosperous for the greater community side. And I think this is a deeper point, but like, I've noticed myself definitely a lot lately. It's like, wow, every time I try and go walk away from the light of truth, or maybe my mind, because your mind, your conscious and subconscious, are both trying to interpret information. And then you've got your personal feelings and your emotions and your all that sort of stuff, which I don't think you should lead life forward with feelings and emotions. But sometimes they take over, and you just, and so what the reality of, like, this is a pen, like, this is a pen, has totally twisted because of all those counter forces. And I think if we can just try our very best to lead a light towards truth, it'll also help us, because we might think, we might be in a job thinking we're doing great. We're like, no, I'm right and they're wrong, and they're not going to fire me, rah. And the next thing you know, they fire you because you're not living in the truth of light. You've created this cocoon of your own truth, you know. And sometimes, and you know, it's not just the checkout person, you know, it goes all the way up to the top, you know, where like multi, you know, millionaire, billionaire, or tech tech people, or you know, politicians or whoever, like when they fall off their perch, it's usually when they're not in that light of truth. They're in their own, oh yep, people would love to have a chip inserted here and be on here and have be part robot and human and well whatever, like you know, like just kind of in their own sort of dreamland. And then a lot of those people up there, they lose touch with the people on the ground level. They don't. I think the great thing when you're starting or building a business, or serving anybody in the community, whether it's a church or at a job, you like you're tapped into the local. You're tapped into, okay, how's yeah, what's the vibe? How's everyone feeling? Is everyone like stressed and worried about like bank closures and economy and the stability of government and geopolitical, what's going on, you know, let me put the feelers out. What are people, okay, this is the biggest scheme, you know, geopolitical crises, and what's our government doing, and where are they going off to war, and where are they sending their money? And or is the local person just going, man, I just need to make enough money for like to take care of my kid, you know? Or gosh, you know, I just got a new bill from, you know, the educators, you know, they want to take more money or whatever it is. It's like tapping into the community and understanding how they feel. And I think all of those examples are walking towards the light of truth. And also in your relationship, you know, you could be humming along, like whether it's a personal relationship or a family relationship, you think everything's fine. And yeah, sometimes, like a lot of times, people, when someone walks out on someone else, like there's a lot of shock, or people like surprised and shocked. I think that all comes back to walking in the light of truth. You know, walking like casting light on it, because there were signs every time. There were always signs. There were always moments. There were always things that you could have, going back in hindsight, once you clear away all your own perspective and your own cognitive biases, there are signs. And I see it in personal relationships. I see it in close relationships. I've seen it with people like friends that are close, and like throughout my life. And I've seen, you know, in myself for sure. Like I monitor myself a lot and see where that happens. But I've seen in personal relationships where someone will literally go, oh, blah blah, and like chat to their spouse just to get confirmation of their version of reality. And then their spouse doesn't want any trouble. So yeah, no, yeah, exactly, you're right. And then this person's living in this kind of illusion land, not connected to anybody in their lives, or not truly, you know, like the people in their lives are getting frustrated and disgruntled, and over time just going, you know what, like I'm just going to distance myself because I just can't. I can't play in dream la la land with you. Like there's reality, and then there's your emotions and feelings, supported, architected reality that gets backed up by your close counterpart. So then now you can decide, okay, I just need to check one, you know, one fact checker or one fact checking
Yeah.
organization, and then it's verified, and then I'm just going to run with this. I think that's the planet we live in, especially over the last few years. You know, is people
Are
will
you,
go to one stream
I
of
just want to ask a
truth.
question. Yeah. So are you meaning like they go to the husband or the significant other, the husband or
Yeah.
wife, whatever
Yep.
it may be, and they go with this idea that they just need to get validated and
Mm.
not
Yeah.
honest feedback
Circumstantial.
or constructive criticism.
Yeah. So, well, circumstantial. They go. And I think it's also how you ask a question, because you could ask for feedback, and the person could go, okay, this person doesn't really want feedback. You know, it's
Mhm.
like, oh, you're doing your community hours, you know, at school or whatever, and it's like you don't really want to do your community hours. You're just here to clock in. So I think a big part of it is the intention you're going with. So if you're going with that intention of, hey, I'm right, I believe I'm right, my emotions, my feelings say I'm right. I'm not listening to logic now. I'm listening to my emotions and my feelings, and they say I'm right. Now I just need to lay it on someone else and say, hey, am I right in this? Am I right in this? And
Oh, I see yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
Okay.
I think a
Yeah.
good friend or a good partner, and it could be a friend, it could be a sibling, or what, a good partner in life will call your BS out. And I think we've spoken about this before in another show, but like you have a choice in that moment. You have a choice to be an enabler of that person's fairyland, um, which is going to suck when it all comes down. When it all, like there's going to be a breakdown, a freak out. It's gonna really suck because if someone's told me my whole life that I'm a great actor, I'm a great actor, I'm a great actor, so I'm going for acting class, like, oh yeah, I just haven't made my break just yet. I haven't made my break, and I keep getting told and it kind of goes back to, I'm not saying that you're not a great singer, but it goes back to like that information that we get. Let's not go there, all right? Because you're going to yell at me in a second and say, my
I'll start
mom. Mount Fuji is going to lose all of its snow any second now. I can see that.
Yeah. No, well, for I think what you're saying is true on some level, and I have to remember that if I know, like, I have to check myself. What am I looking for? Because a lot of times, I'll want to blame it on someone else instead of my choice or my behavior or my, like it was my choice to yell back, "My mom," but
That's what you
like,
got to you got to change the
like,
show to.
yeah, my mom.
Yeah. Dot dot dot.
Dot, dot, dot.
Because everyone knows how that sentence goes.
Right? Oh, dear goodness gracious. But one of the things, like, I have been trying to work on, and this is going on, probably many years, right? That that if I'm aware of my behavior, then it can only begin with me, right? Like, it can only start with me. Now, that also means having healthy boundaries and making my choices. And I'm really going to push it back to the choices here, because a lot of times it's really, at least for me, it was easy to push it on, to blame it on someone else, not take responsibility for my choice. Like, oh, so and so did this, which is why I couldn't do that. Instead of just owning up to, yeah,
We've
I
all been
couldn't
there.
get that done, right? Like that radical responsibility. And something changes, whether it's, it may not be true. Someone may not have finished something, which meant that I couldn't get this done. And maybe I could have asked someone else to help. So in there were many choices. But I have this conversation a lot of times with caregivers and kids. Like, we get to own our choices, and we get to
Yep.
know who we are in relation to other people. I was looking on social media. I think it was today, something about like being alone and having peace is better than being around people. And I was like, there's probably a time in my life I would have said that.
Yeah.
And right now,
Same.
I don't
No.
think so.
It's
It's
better
much
to-
harder. Yeah.
It's better to have people, and it's very interesting. Like same as you, I would have always said it's better to be just alone and at peace and everything. But like the thing is, and this is another part of okay, I just want to part of the new age movement, or like I've read some books and I've gone, oh, my personal choice, I disagree with that strongly. And what I realized that there's this sort of thing of like almost lobotomizing your yourself in order to always have peace and stability and balance and everything's fine and I'm okay. And it's just pure insanity, because like that's not life. Like life is everything. And if you're truly spiritual You know, if the New Age thing or whatever it is, like the book, it's supposed to be truly encompassing of spiritual, then it's everything. I believe our mission is to use the light, to use the truth, to drive out deception and drive out the dark. However, you can't just be in this la la land of everything's fine. And I look at that so selfish. And I look at myself as, geez, I was selfish if I'm just always going for my own peace of mind and my own. And the thing is, those people that really just run for that, you see how sensitive they are to, like, they're very fragile and everyone has to tiptoe around them and worry about them and everything. And you look at it for a second, like, and at first you feel sorry and you go, God, like, you know, it must be terrible being that. And then you realize, and this is to the point of choice, you have a choice to say, and my red flags go up when people start going, oh, well, this happened to me and that happened to me, and going to victim mode. And it really is just being down the line. And if you haven't noticed this in the Decide Your Destiny book, but it is down the line about victim. Because I spent a long time in my life and I had things going on that I looked at and I felt like I couldn't control, and I was a victim. You know, so I'm not casting people out. I was that person for a long period of time, and I still every day have to fight that battle and be aware of that. But that victimhood, like, I worked out that at every point I could find a piece of responsibility, a moment where I could have made a different choice. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to go and live every day in the past and regret, but be aware of what I could have done differently. And that's the whole point of learning. Okay, great. I have the choice of how to perceive this and how to take this forward into the future. I can take this forward into the future of, woe is me, shit happens to me, I've got bad luck, I just or I can take the choice. And the thing is, this is the truth of your subconscious. This is the truth of your life. You're going to be right no matter what. Like, whatever choice you make, tick, correct. You got 100% in the exam. If you say you're a victim, you're a victim. Perfect. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you are. If you say you're a victor, you're a victor. But you have to commit fully to that, because being in the middle sucks. And so, yeah, I'm not saying,
well, and I think there are places where, like, by the definition of victim, you are a victim of a crime, you are a victim of something, and yet you can still be the victor, because you can look at it and go, wow, how did I make it through that? And what tools did I use? I mean,
how can I be a victor here? Yeah.
It's very different from like that learned helplessness type thing, right? But you reminded me of a quote that not a quote. I responded to someone's poetry earlier.
Did you say my mom?
I know I did not. But I said, I can't expect anyone else to fix my pain. It was never fixable. It was my friend and my guide to deeper parts of me. So I think sometimes it took a long time, like you're talking about living in that victimhood. For me, it took a long time to get to that point where I could even be like, oh, you were my friend? And I had no idea that you were my friend. And now, like, you know, you know, even with my pain, like, I have to remember and slow down. And sometimes it's because I'm not wearing my braces anymore. It's, oh,
incredible story.
That's yeah. Someday I'll tell it.
Yeah. I know a bit behind the scenes, folks.
I know, right? But it's like, oh, okay. I bumped up against too many things today, and I knew it. Or, oh, there was a lot of stress, and recognizing how that impacts my physical pain, because a lot of people, I think, don't even realize or don't have the knowledge that social pain and physical pain are actually processed through the same part of the brain. So when you're in social pain, it really is pain. So like that rejection, that, which is where I think I responded from in my thing, where there was a choice, but I didn't see it because it was so fast that, that sensation came up, and I was rawr, that's my, if you ask my friend Betty, she will tell you that one of my favorite words is rawr, RAWR, like I'm roaring.
Well, come on, give us a proper roar.
Roar! No.
What would your mum say?
No,
Eh?
I literally go, I like will go out and I'll be like, "Rawr," and she'll be like, "Okay." So she got me a cup with a T-Rex, and on the back it
Oh,
has "Roar."
cool. Betty's a good
But
friend.
she is. But we have those choices, and we did promise I would read the poem again, so I don't want to miss that because I only read it once, so I want to read it again, and because we've only got like 7 minutes left. So I'm going to do that real quick. I used to give away my choices, letting you, society, family, my past choose for me. But when I remember that you, society, family, my past, are not me, I also remember I have a choice. I don't need to deny myself my soul's beauty, opportunity, reality. So I settle into my heart and I listen to my soul and I follow that path.
And what is that path?
Yeah, I think our heart knows more than our minds do, right?
Mm.
Like I had to settle in my mom example earlier. My mom, I literally had to settle into my heart and wait patiently for the answer. Cuz for it took me probably 20 minutes to get out of my head about it cuz I kept re-justifying
Yeah.
why I need to make this choice, why I needed to do that, why, revalidating.
Yes.
And that wasn't helpful to me or to them. Because it's one thing to be right and it's one thing to be loving.
But see, could you say, would you ever say it's one thing to be honest and it's one thing to be loving? Or are they the same thing?
Ooh, that's a deep one. I think sometimes it's the same thing, and I don't think there's a black and white answer, right? Like sometimes, like with my kids, I've had to make those choices. Is it, what's the loving thing to do in this moment? And especially with kids, it's not always clear because the loving thing to do with one in a similar situation is not the same loving thing to do with another one because they're different people. And I think that again, I'm going to go back
approaches.
to I've got to sit down, sink into my heart and ask, what do I need to do?
Yeah. I think for me, well, I love that because like you've got two different species there. You got two different kids. You've got two different personalities, and so your approach, has to be different, or it can be different. I think one thing I'd love to leave, because we're talking about choice, is that for many years I've experienced this, is that you're going to choose who you are and you're going to be yourself, and that's not going to make everyone happy, and more often than not, the more yourself you are, the more it kind of pushes a little pain point into the wound of someone else who's not being their self. And even just because they're not being themselves, or they can't be themselves, or they can't muster the strength to be themselves, or they can't have that level of confidence or whatever it is to just stand on a hill or die on the hill they're choosing to die on, they will try and tear you down because it's like a mirror to them not actually rising up. And so when you make choices, like, just be aware that, like, make them to stick by them, because society, and like you said in your poem, like, everyone around you is not necessarily always going to be happy with the choices you make. And then the worst decision you can make is the choice to try and please everyone, because that is, like, to be honest, That is never going to happen. That's never going to happen. And even when you live a life trying to please someone, I've noticed this in personal relationships. I've noticed this in close friendship. I've noticed this a lot in my life. When you try and please someone, you actually get despised more than the sibling or whoever who is just being themselves. And the mother or whoever might complain about that sibling, oh, blah blah blah. But when he's around, they love that sibling, and they despise you because really deep down, and it's very psychological. It sounds harsh, but deep down, it's like that kind of disgust of like, well, in a tribal format, when there's a saber-toothed tiger coming for the group, they know that you're the weakest link in the family because you're not sticking by your choice. You're not sticking by your decision. You're not firm and grounded in the way that you're deciding to live. And so even though you're appeasing them everywhere, which way, and this is where you'll see this in relationships of abuse, if the one is appeasing the other, appeasing, doing everything in the book that could be right, and then going, oh my God, I'm at a loss at why she left me, or why she was like that and abused me, or why. But it's that internal, like, it's especially in a relationship or close family knit, like you need your team members to be strong because there is an enemy force that if they're all together and synchronized could be stronger than you guys. So there's that deeper layer, that subconscious of no matter how much you're appeasing, like you're going to, or how much you like that people pleaser, like they can't ever get it right. They can't ever get it right.
Well, and I think too that people pleasing gets us into a power and control situation, right? So you need to do this because that's what I need, and instead of like that long suffering and the love and things like that, because I've seen it in a few places in my life where I can see it now in other situations, right? And I'm like, oh, maybe like I saw a friend of mine send a text to a boss, like, hope you like this now, and sent them a video of changing what they thought what that person said they wanted changed. And they're recognizing the difference in behavior between them and other people. And I'm like, well, it might have something to do with the fact that when they say jump, you jump, and then you try to jump higher so that maybe they will like you instead of just getting it done, and you're trying to prove yourself. And it's like this asking for love, and it's really, it really sucks.
I'd hate that.
I'm
gonna be honest.
Sucks. It's it's really hard to watch, but I also was that person, so I cannot say that it's wrong, because I thought, oh, if I just do this,
oh yeah, I
then
see
they'll
myself
be happy.
being that. Yep.
Oh yeah. It
I think
doesn't
if you, and that's the thing when people are talking on topics genuinely, like, and someone might go, oh, that's harsh, that's me, but like both Angela and I have just said, like we've been that person, so that's why we talking intently about it, because like fishing for compliments, fishing for love, like and then once you've been that person and you've come out of that person and you've got someone around you, like you want to have compassion, but if they're just not learning or just not taking it on or just not being aware of, hey, look, no need to fish for compliments, just be yourself, like just it's okay. I think it's the choices that we make of whether we want to be a part of a community, we want to be a part of a group, we want to be a part of a cohort. And to your point of going back to your point of just wanting to be I'm happier alone. I think that's selfish. Because if you look at faith, if you look at Jesus Christ, if you look at, and this section is God and wisdom, like sacrifice your own peace, sacrifice your own for the betterment of others, for helping others, for supporting others, for loving others, others that have been there for you and will be there for you. And like that whole thing of like, I've just got to be balanced all the time and just in perfect cohesion and everything's just got to be fine and everything's got to be perfect in my little environment. Like, I think it's really selfish, to be honest. I'm not saying you
Yeah.
don't go and try and create the perfect ideal life. Of course, you go as best you can and try and create that perfect ideal life. But you're at a disconnect of, humanity if you're going to be in your room with perfect harmonious music and everything's lovely and everything's like heaven on earth in that room, and then you're letting everyone else outside just, like your family just lose it and go crazy,
Yeah.
and you're not helping out people. Like, I just don't think I think that's selfish.
Well, and I think for me, sacrifice, when I think of that word, I always think, and so if I'm going to sacrifice loneliness, right? Then I'm making the time that I do get alone sacred, right? And I'm also making those relationships sacred because
Mm,
I'm sacrificing something for them. And I also think that that's where life happens, right?
mm,
And I also think that, between as where two or more are gathered is where we're going to find God. And I think that it's in
love that.
those. So if you imagine yourself as a magnetic ball that extends beyond, that you can't see, and let's say I'm one side, or I'm one circular object and you're another circular object, where our magnetic fields are coming into contact, and then that little sign that comes up in the middle. So when you put two circles together, it's called the vesica Pisces, right? So you've got, and it's also the same shape of the fish that people used to draw in the ground with their feet, that meant Christ, right? So when we bump into each other and we connect with each other, that's also the same place I think that we find God. So, yeah,
Love that.
like
Love that.
we and that's the only, I think in some ways that's the only way we can find God, right? Is
Mm,
by finding out who we are in relationship to other people. Because, like Esther Perel says, it is super easy to know yourself in relationship to an island. But going out and finding out who you are in relationship to all these other people, that's a lot harder, and a lot more life
mm.
happens there, I think.
Yeah, and you get tested in ways that you're like, oh shit, I thought I had more patience there, or gosh, I didn't know that evil beast of myself that came out in that situation. Where that guy come from? Whoa, you know, like that person
Yeah.
got my goat up, or my mom, like it just.
Exactly. Exactly. So I
I love
think
how it's not
I
a
think
circle.
for
You
oh
got to change
man.
the title of the show. My mom. Dot, dot, dot.
Yeah. I think the reality of it is that um our choices are within our capacity, and sometimes we react before we even realize there's a choice. At least for me, right? I react before I even know I have a choice. So I think if it's cool with you, I think for our listeners, a really fantastic homework would be kind of, take maybe a 24-hour period, or maybe even less, maybe just 4 hours, and just really ponder, where did I make choices in that time frame,
Mm.
and start
Take
reckon
a
start
journal and a pen.
yeah, start to just see, oh, I made a choice when I decided to eat that, or I made a
Mm.
choice when I responded that way, or I made a choice, instead of like sleepwalking through the day.
I'd say, and to add on to that, I'd say take a notepad and pen, and every time you find yourself, and I've become more aware of these moments, um, like especially rejection, rejection or something along those lines, or something not going to plan. Like I've felt this feeling and this emotion, and I've become way more aware of it now. And then because you get along with your day, and you're like, why did I suddenly go from here to here? And then I track it back to that moment of rejection, and I go, oh, that was just one rejection. Like, come on, like what are you doing? Like, this is a whole day. You're gonna have lots of successes, lots of rejections, lots of like all of it. Like just don't worry about it. And then you can kind of almost release the energy, or the caught upness of that emotional moment. And when you can release that, and I guess if you practice it, like, so recently I went door knocking up and down the streets, and you get rejection, you get this, you get, hey, what are you trying to sell me? Or you get all that sort of disgruntled um, almost rejection to your being or who you are or your plan. My plan of attack is this, and I just got a door slammed in my face. Oh, that didn't go to my plan of attack. That's rejection. And you get this objection to all of your plans and these complaints and all these challenges. And if you're able to release those moments or have a bunch of those moments until they don't have an emotional wipeout for you. And I think that maybe that is the word. Every time in your day that you have an emotional wipeout or something takes you from, I was up here, I got my mind right, I got my subconscious right. First thing in the morning, I listened to my positive motivational speaker, and I listened to Les Brown and Jim Rohn and whatever, and I was here, and then I had a rejection, I went down to here. Then I read a scripture, I went back up to here. Then I had another rejection, went down to here. Like, just be aware every time you've gone down or you've found an emotional wipeout, take a note and write down what happened. And then that little moment, write it out, and it will emotionally release it. It will emotionally release it. And then you can be aware, like you said, of the choices. Oh, I chose to react like that one person rejecting me online or saying a hateful comment was like a tidal wave smacking me in the jaw. Like, I chose to react like that.
Yeah, and I think also if you're going to take out the pen and paper and note, maybe also note when you get out of it, what you did, what happened, what were you responsible for in shifting your perspective, and how did you do it? Right. So that then you can remember next time. Anyway, we are over time. So did you want to close this out?
Yeah, before we jump off, I just want to reiterate that, because if there's a listener out there that's struggling with choice and struggling with being themselves, for me, I've chosen, and I don't know if you can reiterate like this in your own way, Angela, but I've chosen to be direct and to go for truth and go for what's going to help, whether it is offensive or if it's hurt, or if it's not. I've chosen not to placate to the insanity or not to placate to what's going to keep people suppressed and just keep them comfortable. I've chosen rather to go towards, hey, be direct and be honest and be truthful. And when you make that choice, you might go, oh, that sounds like a lovely choice. Yeah. Like be aware, like, not everyone's going to appreciate you being direct. Not everyone's going to appreciate honesty. Actually, in history, the people that are honest, the people that are trying to shine the light to truth, are usually not necessarily favored for a long period of their journey. So be aware that you're going to get people that are going to react in a way that you might not necessarily want them to react, but that's your choices. They are your choices, and you're choosing truth over likability. And those little choices that you make, they end up becoming the character of who you are, becoming the legacy of what you're remembered as, becoming your destiny. And if you can work out what choice is going to be more beneficial long-term, then you're onto a winner. But I think it's really important to reiterate, your choices will have reactions, they'll have impact. And, every time you make that choice, people aren't going to respond in the way that you maybe thought in your mind. And that might get you to retract on that choice, but don't let it. Stick to what is the most righteous.
Yeah. You go, Kyle. So,
well, my grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
She told me one day.
Anyhow, so did you want to close us out then?
Yeah. Or do you want to close it out with my mom? No, we'll close it out.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say my mom
and my grandmom told me to decide your destiny. So this is the destiny of your soul, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining. I think it's a really, really great episode. Go back, rewatch, take the notes. Please remember your homework. Take a note down every time you ever feel that sort of emotional hiccup along your day. Tune in next week. We've been doing this for 22 episodes. We've done 21 so far. So we've got our last one next week. And we just followed the book, Decide Your Destiny. And we've also been, combining the poems from Angela. So check out Angela's book, check out Angela's content. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. Let us know your takeaways. and we'll see you next week for the final episode. Remember, this is the destiny of your soul.